Hey guys, we're here at the US-Mexico border here in El Paso Ciudad Juarez. Between us and Mexico, you can see the border wall. In between there is the Rio Grande River. In this video, we're going to cross the Mexican-American border into Ciudad Juarez. The border is a hot topic right now, so we thought it would be important to see it for ourselves and bring you guys along with us. We started a trip in El Paso, Texas, in the heart of the vast Chihuahuan desert. The two cities have been trading partners across the Rio Grande for over the past 400 years, growing into one of the largest cross-border communities in the world, now home to over 3.5 million residents. And I'm sure if you're watching this video, you probably want to cross the border yourself. So I'm going to talk about what it's like to cross the border, paperwork you need to carry, what the process and experience was like for us, and just how different Mexico felt compared to El Paso. We spent a day exploring El Paso, and I was impressed. El Paso is a well-run city, very safe, great food, and hands down one of the cleanest American cities I've been to. And its roads, in amazing condition. It was super easy to get across town, traffic wasn't bad, and there were a few cool scenic drives you could do while you were in El Paso. For an incredible view of Mexico from the US side, go to El Paso Scenic Drive in the Franklin Mountains.
Welcome to El Paso.
From here, you'll get a stunning panoramic view of El Paso, a look at the border, and deep into Mexico. If you are determined to get as close as possible to the border, then Donovan Park is where you want to be. You can walk right up to the border fence and look at the Rio Grande River, with Border Patrol vehicles zipping by every few minutes. And the best part? No passport needed. You're still in the United States in a regular city park. Hey guys, we're here in El Paso, Texas. We're here at this city park, and right behind us is the US-Mexico border. So we go check out the border. The actual border with Mexico is right at the Rio Grande River. A few steps behind that fence, but we'll take a look. There's a lot of Border Patrol presence here. One of our goals on this trip was to actually touch the border fence. It's Ciudad Juarez over there. Take a look, a Border Patrol pickup. From the playground here, you can hear music from cars at the gas station on the Mexican side. And you can smell the fumes of the distinct blend of Mexican gasoline, where laws around emissions are less strict.
That is the border.
Smells like sewage down there in the Rio Grande here. And around the street corner, Mexican Metropolitan Police conducting a traffic stop. Between us and Mexico, you can see the border wall. In between there is the Rio Grande River. Some of the fences here actually open up to let floodwaters with debris run through into the lowest point here, which is the Rio Grande River. The floodgates lift up when there's water. When there's no water, they manually or maybe electronically lower it down so people can cross over here. About once every 5 minutes, we see a Border Patrol truck roll through here. The wall is actually not the border. The border is actually a little bit past ways across this first canal. So it's like the Berlin Wall, there's a canal, and then the Rio Grande, making it really hard for migrants to cross here. A few miles up here, the border wall does end and it becomes rugged terrain. The border wall extends a little bit to that side. Behind us here, we have the BNSF rail yard, which becomes Ferromex, a rail company for goods traveling back and forth between Chihuahua and Texas here. There's so much international commerce happening. On the right, freight trains are loaded with new cars, ready to be sold to consumers in the United States. If you're still curious about seeing more of the border, then check out our next recommendation. Head over and drive on the Cesar Chavez Highway. This highway is built right next to the border wall, giving you an opportunity to cover a lot of ground by car and see a lot of different areas of Juarez from the safety of the United States side of the border. It's so cool to be in the United States and see drivers driving along highways inside Mexico. You pass by schools, a commerce district, city center, but most importantly, we drive right next to the Big Red X, a symbol of Juarez, formerly called the Monument to the Mexican People, a piece of artwork funded by local investors to bring tourism and heal wounds from many years of violence. On this stretch of road, you may notice signs warning drivers about the possibility of seeing illegal immigrants running across the roadway and darting into the US. This drive is also a good way to experience the income gap on both sides of the border. Immaculate buildings on the right side in El Paso, and rundown colonias on the left side in Mexico.
Hey, cool.
Chihuahua.
That's the huge cultural gap here, dude. I think between this and this is probably the largest, true cultural gap across, half a mile you could ever get.
On the United States side, residents enjoy smooth, wide highways. In Mexico, you can see dust clouds kicked up from cars driving on unpaved neighborhoods. And the border itself, almost 2,000 miles long, and only 700 miles of it is fenced. The rest of it, desert, almost impossible to cross and make it alive. But here in El Paso, because there's a rail line that runs right to the city, a lot of migrants arrive by train and try to use Juarez as a jumping point into the United States through El Paso. Interestingly enough, I want to point out to viewers that the recent wave of illegal immigration is not really just from Mexico, but from Central America, South America, and even folks from overseas flying into easier to enter countries like Colombia, crossing the Darien Gap, and taking the migrant train to Juarez, trying to get into the United States that way. To counter the hype that you might see in the news, illegal immigration usually happen in waves, such as when the United States loosen or tighten migrant and refugee restrictions, or where there is a momentum of migrants trying to come together where they feel safer in numbers, or the only times where you see migrants flooding the borders. But generally speaking, the border itself is pretty quiet, unlike what the media portrays. And in the few days we spent exploring the border, we didn't see any incidents of illegal immigration. How about we switch gears and take you along into Mexico, legally? We're heading over to the US-Mexico border. We're crossing down to Ciudad Juarez. There are 4 bridges that connect El Paso to Juarez. We'll guide you on the best way to cross into Mexico. For tourists, we recommend using the Puente Internacional Paso del Norte Bridge. This route leads you directly into Juarez's bustling shopping district and downtown. The best part? It's easiest to cross on foot. Everything you want to see is just a short walk away. Leave the car behind. Custom lines can be long, and remember, you'll need Mexican auto insurance to drive into Juarez. Plus, American drivers can be targeted by police for bribes, so it's best to avoid the hassle. Here's a list of things you want to bring into Mexico. Carry a valid US passport or passport card. Mexico didn't check for documents the day we crossed, but you certainly need those documents to return to the US. Take pictures of your passport and driver license as backup forms of ID in case you lose the originals. Bring cash in US dollars and a credit card. Credit cards work just fine south of the border. You don't need pesos to go into Mexico, but familiarize yourself with the exchange rate so you can work with vendors and restaurants to pay your tab in the equivalent US dollar converted amount. Cheers. And a pro tip is to check the U.S. Customs site for border crossing wait times. This will help you plan your visit in Mexico and estimate how much time you need to get back into the U.S. Another awesome resource is the live feed videos from Mexico border crossing website. They offer a real-time glimpse into the current border situation. Check the description below for more info. For safety, locals recommend going to Juarez by day and coming back before the sun sets. Hey guys, we made over to Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. Despite us being just a short walk from El Paso, Ciudad Juarez really feels like an international destination. Latin American architecture, hearing Spanish conversations everywhere, and the restrictions of movement across the US-Mexico border makes the experience feel like we are deep in Latin America. It's easy to forget we're visiting a border town just outside of Texas. We center our visit around Juarez's main street, Avenida Benito Juarez. Juarez is really a commerce center, so it's not too touristy, but here are some ideas. Grab a drink at Kentucky Bar, where the margarita was invented. Do some shopping, and meet the shop owners. This part of Mexico is the birthplace of cowboy culture. You will find no shortage of traditional, stylish vaquero gear. If you got an extra hour to spare, walk downtown to the Ciudad Juarez Cathedral. There's a nice market area and a lot of locals hang out here. We're here, crossing back from Ciudad Juarez back to
Estados Unidos.
Sí. Re-entering the U.S. was easy. We paid the bridge toll using a reusable card on the Mexican side purchased from vending machines at the border bridge. Avoid buying used cards from vendors. Those are scams. On the bridge, foot traffic was light. Halfway across, we see the sign demarking the international border between Mexico and the United States, high over the Rio Grande. Head back into El Paso. Immigration was a breeze. The relaxing walk over the border bridge took longer than the line of the customs. Looks like the line isn't too bad today to cross back to the United States. 5 minutes wait on foot. Welcome back. across the land border from Mexico back to the United States. Welcome to Texas, folks, the Lone Star State. Bienvenidos, welcome back to El Paso. This is the mirror image of the Mexican side of the border. There's a shopping street here, a main street here, just on the other side of the port of entry. We explore El Paso's old town where the border bridge ends. This neighborhood is formerly called Chihuahuita and feels a lot like Mexico. 90% of the residents here are Mexican. If you don't have time to cross the Mexican border into Juarez, we highly recommend this area of El Paso. It's only a 5-minute drive from downtown and is very safe. It's super cultural and it feels like you're in Juarez. If you're lucky, you might even spot cars domestic to the Mexican market that aren't sold in the US. Before we finish this video, you may be thinking, when are we going to talk about the dangers of Juarez? After all, Juarez was ranked the most dangerous city in the world for many years in a row. Essentially, El Chapo's Sinaloa cartel has been battling the local Juarez cartel for control of supply chains for delivering drugs into the US. When the Sinaloa cartel prevailed, essentially the fighting dropped, so the murder rates dropped and Juarez became more safe to visit. But we're not naive here. Juarez is still an active drug trading zone. That's why we gave very specific rules around what to do when visiting Juarez, such as staying on the main roads only and visiting during the day. We were eager to find out what the new president of Mexico would do to handle the drug trade and how they would reduce the violence across the country. Today, a lot of legal businesses are moving into Juarez to focus on the manufacturing sector, taking advantage of the NAFTA agreement between the US and Mexico that allows for easy international trade. Labor in Mexico is cheap, so a lot of companies flock here. A day of work at a Mexican factory pays about as much as an hour of work at an American minimum wage job, so the income gap is very drastic and real. But a lot of people in Mexico are able to work legally in the United States, and for them, they commute into El Paso during the day and commute home back to Juarez during the evening. So during rush hour, traffic across the border bridges can be very heavy. We hope you enjoyed this in-depth look at our southern border and gained some insights into the often misunderstood frontier. We thank our viewers again for watching this far and joining us on this incredible, humbling adventure across the international border. If you enjoyed this video and found it informative, helpful, or useful, please add a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thanks again for watching. See you guys in the next one.